and welcome to episode 39 of the Tea and Possibilities podcast. I am Nikki and this is a podcast all about knitting, crochet and making all the things here in East London. You can find me online at hippie_Nikki on Instagram. I'm Nikki Hippie on Ravelry. And if you search for Tea and Possibilities under the groups tab in Ravelry, you will find our group right there. As always, everything that I mention this episode will be linked in the show notes, and you can find a link to the show notes and some other quick links just down below. Thank you so much if you are a new viewer for giving the podcast a shot. I really do appreciate it, and I just want to say a massive welcome back to any of my regular viewers. I always really appreciate you coming back every episode, so thank you very much. Today's tea is actually my first cup of the day. It is a Sunday and I don't normally record on Sundays. I usually finish up my editing on Sundays, but we were quite busy yesterday, so I've got up quite early today and I am having my very first cup of tea of the day, and it is my usual first tea of the day. It's Yorkshire Gold. It's very strong. I put barely any milk in it, which horrifies quite a lot of people, but I really don't like milky tea. So it's nice and strong and it's getting me going on this early Sunday morning, and hopefully it's going to brighten up a little bit because it's been pretty drizzly and grey and rainy the past week, and I was pretty ill last weekend, so it'd be really nice to have some sunshine and some cheer this weekend. Thank you so much to the people who got in touch with me about their Best Year Ever cow prizes. I've already been in touch with you to let you know of the slight delay due to being unwell. I currently have packaging winging its way to me, so as soon as that arrives I will package them all up and get them posted. But in the meantime I am missing one person. One person hasn't contacted me to claim their prize. So if you didn't watch last episode, episode 38, do go back and find out if you are the winner. But now let's move on to Whipped Up. Most of this will be familiar from last episode, but I have put a little bit more work into a few projects and I'm very excited about them. My Cozy Memories blanket! Now, I don't know if you can see from the front here, but I have weaved all my ends in. Woven? All my ends are tucked in, basically. I wasn't feeling very well last weekend, as I said, and how I knew that I was actually deathly unwell was because on Friday night when we came in, because we had gone around Lumiere London, and as I got progressively sicker and eventually just went, I can't do this anymore, I want to go home. And not only did I turn down a Cheer Up cream egg, I also didn't want to knit, and that is how Rich knew that I was not very well at all. So I didn't get much work done on this. And then on Saturday, when I was feeling a little bit better, but still not quite myself, and I didn't really want to knit, but I wanted to do something, so I sat and weaved in all my ends. So the only ones that aren't woven in are these ones, just at the very top, because they will be woven in to the row above. And I'm going to try and be really good and weave them in as I go from now on, now that it's so much tidier and it looks so nice. I think it might give me the little spur I need to do that. And also I had a lovely comment on my last episode to say that there was a technique for weaving it in as you go, kind of like you can do with crochet, and I haven't watched that video yet, but I have bookmarked it for when I put my next square on, because as you can see I have 4 completed rows. So I'm actually going to put this away for a little while. All of my Advent minis are now in here from 2017. I still have lots of my Opal Advent yarn from 2016. But yeah, I just finished up this little end here, and that's all of my Advent yarns from Amy and Katie. So I kind of feel like I need a little break, but I did receive lots of beautiful mini skeins as part of the Get Your Yarn Wishes Granted on Instagram, and I would really like to get those in as soon as possible, particularly as I had quite a few Harry Potter ones, so I want to do kind of a Harry Potter chunk. But for the time being, it will go into my Knit and Nibble bag, just get your knit on, and it will be tucked away for just maybe a couple of weeks, just till I've got some big progress on some other projects, and then I pull it out and put a couple of squares here and there on it. Now, given that my first project was the Cozy Memories blanket, it should come as no surprise to anyone what my next project is. It's still living in this gorgeous little bag from Rachel of the Crafty Historian podcast. I think it will outgrow it fairly soon, but for the time being it's quite cozy and at home in there. And it is my granny stripe. I really am enjoying this. I never thought I'd enjoy a fingering weight granny stripe because, as we all know, the Shanghai Stripes blanket that I did out of, was it Chunky or Aran? I'm not sure, but it was a much heavier weight acrylic yarn that I did for a friend. And that took forever, took so long. And I just never thought that I would want to do a scrappy one in fingering weight, but I love it. And I think I might love it because it's bananas. Look at it. Every time Rich sees me working on it, he loves it, but he's like, this is nuts. This is absolutely insane, but it kind of works, you know? But I made up, basically I finished all the squares on my Cozy Memories blanket, and then I made myself a magic ball out of the leftovers. Thank you to Katie and Amy for introducing me to the magic knot, because it genuinely is magical and I love it. I love it so much. So I just connected all of my minis, rolled them up into a big ball, and now I'm just working on it. So I've got quite a big chunk on here of this like swimming pool blue, and then I've got a couple of Christmassy Nora George just at the top here, this red, yellow and green, and I just love it. It feels so nice. The texture of this is so different to the knitted texture of my Cozy Memories blanket. That is very much heavier and more quilt-like, whereas this is, I imagine that the Cozy Memories blanket will end up on a bed somewhere, whereas this is going to be a little bit more rough and tumble and probably go on a sofa, and it'll be one of those that you snuggle up under when you're not feeling very well, or when you're snuggling down to watch a good film. It's a Sunday sofa blanket, this, and I'm really enjoying it. And I think once I've finished up this ball, which I'm just wrapping around my fingers, I will probably make up another ball out of the leftovers from earlier squares, and probably when I've done that, that's when I'll start working on my Harry Potter section in my Cozy Memories blanket, because I do want things to go into my Cozy Memories blanket before going into this, because otherwise my Cozy Memories will never get finished, ever. But yeah, do you remember a few episodes ago when I was talking about feeling really antsy because I had no whips to hand, and I was kind of finishing everything and I wasn't really in a starting mood, I just wanted to go? Yeah, I really feel like these two projects are brilliant for that, because they're not going to be finished anytime soon. So no matter what my other projects are and what stage they're at, I'm always going to be able to pick up and go on a crochet granny stripe. I can't say it. Crochet granny stripe. I'm always going to be able to pick that up and go on it, because it's not going to be finished for ages. And the same can be said for my Cozy Memories blanket as well. So I've got plenty of minis. I'm not going to be without a pick up and go project for a very long time. Next up is my lovely, lovely garment project, and it is living in my Eldenwood craft bag. If this looks like a tiny bit pinker than it used to, that is because it got wine spilled on it at Christmas. Not my wine, for the record. Yeah, there was a slight accident. We had a little bit of wine on it, so it's a little bit pinkier than it was, but my project was absolutely fine. I had that heart-stopping moment of like, my indie dyed yarn is going to be dyed with wine, but I opened it up and it was absolutely fine. I mean, to be fair, there wasn't that much wine, but still, I was very, very happy that this is so sturdy that it actually protected my project from disaster. So that's good. But living in here, if you cannot remember, is my garment project. And I would just like to say a massive thank you to everyone who left me tips for how to protect the ends of my needles. I am going to get myself some more end needle tipper things, you know. Point protectors, that's the one. But in the meantime, I have been using a hairband, which was great because I can never find a hairband when I want it. So that was fun. I had a little burrow around the back of the bed and, you know, the back of the chest of drawers where they always seem to end up. So I found quite a few, which was great. But moving swiftly on, this is my pavement sweater, and I still haven't gone up to a larger longer cable length I should say, so it looks teeny tiny, but I am confident it is going to fit. But if I hold it like this, it kind of looks like a jumper. So we've got the neckband here, we've got the yoke shaping, these here are going to be the sleeves, and what I'm working on now is the body. So, oh, I've done a bit more than I thought. So I've done about this much of the body. This is from the underarm down, and I think I've got maybe 15 inches to go. There's no waist shaping, so I literally just go now. Just go round and round and round and round and round, and then I only have to worry about, I nearly poked myself in the eye then. What am I doing? Then I only have to worry about doing the sleeves. So while this I think is a fairly quick knit, I am in the Stockinette Doldrums at the moment. So I'm just going round and round and round, and I can do that while I watch 3 episodes at a time of Walking Dead, and I can look down and feel like I've done nothing. So we're at that point. However, I'm still really enjoying it because being ill last weekend, I did go back to work on Monday. It didn't last very long, but I was fully back at work on Tuesday. And I've been pretty exhausted all week, just from, you know, when you're unwell, even though you're resting, it's not proper rest. So I was just tired all week, and it was really lovely to have this. So I'm just gonna pull out some more yarn so I'm not tugging on it. To have this to just go round and round and round on, that was really, really lovely. And I fully intended to cast on my Willow and Lark Campside Cardi by Alicia Plummer, but unfortunately I didn't have the bandwidth for it, so I'm hoping to do that this week. My thinking is if I cast on a garment every month, it's madness, isn't it? But if I do that, then I'm eventually going to have some garments finished. And hopefully there'll be some of my Make 9, because so far there's Katie of Inside Number 23 steaming through her Make 9 challenge, and there's me going, but I want to finish my pavement and I want to cast on the Campside Cardi, and it just didn't occur to me to include those in my Make 9 because they were already kind of, I mean, this one was in progress, but in my head the Campside Cardi was in progress and I had to talk about things that were brand new. Yeah, so that was probably a bit silly of me. But who knows, maybe I will end up with all of my, was it 5 knitting projects and these extra 2? So stop babbling, Nikki, no one knows what you're going on about. So yeah, that's all my works in progress at the moment, and you know, there's a little hint there of what's coming up next. I am going to unravel in a couple of weeks. I'll be going on the Saturday, and I have no plans to buy anything because at the moment I do have a sweater quantity of Stranded that I'm trying to figure out what to do with. I did consider doing the May by Andrea Mowry, but I've got fingering weight and that's a worsted weight sweater. And I've also got my Yarn Collective sweater quantity for my Gingerbread by Libby Johnson. So I'm kind of okay for yarn at the moment. I just want to kind of have a little nosy round and meet people and just see Amy and have a really nice time. So hopefully I'll see you there at Unravel. And I toyed with not saying this, but I'm just going to say it. I had huge FOMO, fear of missing out, when everyone was talking about Edinburgh Yarn Festival and all the fun things they were going to do there. So I've booked a couple of days off work. I haven't booked my train ticket or anything like that, and obviously I've missed the advance tickets for the show, but I am hoping to catch a train or a plane, depending on which one is cheaper or easier, whatever, on the Thursday, and I'm going to come back on the Saturday, which gives me the Sunday to recover before going back to work on Monday. So at the moment, I'm almost definitely going, unless come payday, which is when I intend to book my travel tickets, unless I discover that they're absolutely thousands of pounds, which is unlikely, but with British Rail you never know. I am pretty much definitely going to the Edinburgh Yarn Festival. And I think with Unravel and Edinburgh Yarn Festival, I'm going to get myself some souvenir minis because I've never been to Unravel before, and this will be my first Edinburgh Yarn Festival with friends. Last year I went with Rich, who is lovely and gorgeous and wonderful, but doesn't really get it. So I definitely want to get some souvenir minis for my blankets. But I also think that I will get some undyed yarn at Edinburgh Yarn Festival, because I remember Katie saying there was a Laxton's booth there and I didn't see it, and that's where I've always got my yarn for dyeing. I haven't been leaving you out, I haven't done any dyeing for quite some time because living at my mum's, it was not ideal to be dyeing there, and I just haven't got round to dyeing in this new space yet. But it is something I really enjoy and I like playing with it. And I thought that this year it'd be great if I could dye one of my Make 9 sweaters. So it would be, you know, a completely unique to me thing. So I think what I'm going to do before I go to Edinburgh is figure out which sweater I want to dye for myself and get a sweater quantity from Laxton's. I really hope they're going to be there this year, because I'd be a bit gutted if they're not. So yeah, I make no promises about being at Edinburgh Yarn Festival, but it's almost definite, and I can't wait. I can't wait to get to spend time with Katie and Amy and to meet more people, because there's going to be a few people that I chat to online that I've never met in person, that I'm going to meet them. And I don't know, I think I did say on my Edinburgh episode last year how happy I was. You know, I was just overjoyed because I just felt like, oh, I found my people, this is wonderful, and I'm looking forward to more of that this year. I don't really know why I said I wasn't going to go. I suppose I felt like I'd done it and I should do something else instead, but then everyone was talking about it and I was just like, why would you miss out on this, Nikki? Don't be stupid, go! So yeah, hopefully I will be seeing you at Unravel on the Saturday and Edinburgh Yarn Festival, and obviously as soon as I know exactly what days I'm going there, I will let you know. And yeah, my plan is to get some undyed yarn and dye myself a sweater quantity, and hopefully it won't end up being muddy brown and it'll be lovely. Not that there's anything wrong with brown, depends on the brown though, doesn't it? Right, well, after all of that babbling, I'm not very good first thing in the morning, am I? Let's move on to Here Be Spoilers. This week's Here Be Spoilers is the very last in my top 3. So I've done, let's see if I can remember, I've done top 3 books, top 3 films and top 3 TV series. And today I want to talk about my top 3 theatre shows. That was kind of all I'd planned for top 3, but I quite like breaking it down and thinking about it. So I'm considering doing a couple more and maybe doing my top 3 knitting slash crochet slash crafting podcasts and my top 3 non-crafting podcasts. So if you would like that, do let me know. But in the meantime, I get to talk to you this week about one of my great loves, which is theatre. And the last couple of years, I have not been very much. When we moved to Portsmouth, we didn't really see much theatre. We did come up to London while we were living in Portsmouth to see a show at the Globe with Rich's mum, which was 946. The Amazing Story of Adolphus Tips, I believe, was the complete title. And that was a Michael Morpurgo adaptation for the Globe when Emma Rice was director there, which was quite a departure for the Globe. It's not the kind of thing that I have seen at the Globe before, and I absolutely loved it. I thought it was an incredible show. It's not one of my top 3, but it gets a special mention because it was wonderful. Speaking of Michael Morpurgo, Warhorse, I don't know if Warhorse is still running. I don't think it is, but if it is, I would highly recommend that as well, because the puppetry and the way he tells stories about war in a way that a child can understand, because these are based on children's books, is absolutely amazing, and I really enjoyed it. but that was a bit of a tangent. And what I was trying to say was that's all we saw in 2016, and I only saw one show last year as well. So I'm hoping to see some more this year now that we are properly settled back in London. I'm hoping to see some more stuff at the Globe, because the Globe is one of my all-time favourite places to see theatre. The Sam Wanamaker Playhouse, which is the indoor extension of the Globe, which is still fairly new, although it might be about 3 years old now. It's newer than the Globe, and that's fantastic. One of the most amazing things that I've seen at the Sam Wanamaker Playhouse was actually not a play, it was more of a spoken word event. Simon Armitage, who is a fantastic northern poet, has translated some of the Arthurian sagas and updated it into more readable modern English. And he did Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, which is incredible. It just blew me away. It's absolutely stunning. And then he did The Death of King Arthur, neither of which I have signed, which I'm a bit gutted about. One day. And he performed The Death of King Arthur at the Globe, at the Sam Wanamaker Playhouse, which is the indoor candlelit playhouse. And he read the poem, and they had music, and they had some people acting out parts of it. And we were tucked away up in the gods, and you could see all the painted ceilings and how beautifully golden the light was, and it was just incredible. So I would definitely love to see more at the Sam Wanamaker this year. The Globe is one of my all-time favourite places to see theatre, so I'd like to see some more stuff there. And I used to see a lot of kind of pop-up theatre. I think one of the most incredible plays and productions, I should say, that has really stuck with me was a version of Henry V, which was set during, I believe it was the Falklands. It was kind of, it was modern warfare anyway, and that was in the basement of a Marylebone shop, and the shop had closed down and they'd just taken over the basement, and you went down and you were kind of sitting on the little beds in the barracks, or on like an upturned tin, storage tub. So you were very much in the action, and you were peppered all across the stage. And that was incredible, and honestly, that's the kind of thing I want to see more of. So if you do know of anything going on in London, pop-up theatre-wise, do let me know. I absolutely adore it. All that preamble to say, I love theatre, and it was very, very hard for me to choose my top 3. None of what I've mentioned so far is in my top 3, but they are shows that have really stuck with me. But the top 3 I based on like just the kind of event it was in my life. First up, I am going to go, and it's probably going to be no surprise to anyone, I'm going to go with The Cursed Child. I saw this last October, and there is a video about it in my Vlogtober series, so I will link that down below if you want to have a look at it. I had read the play the previous year because, living in Portsmouth, having no plans to move back to London, I didn't think I was going to be able to see it. I'm not massively keen on booking theatre tickets a year in advance, because you never know where you'll be and it might be really inconvenient. So I just thought I was never going to get around to seeing it. And then I got tickets last year. A friend of mine found somebody who couldn't go, and so we bought the tickets off them. And it was only about a month's wait that we had. So I'd read the play, and I kind of, having read the play, was like, I don't mind if I don't see this, because I have to caveat this by saying I am incredibly dubious about the storyline. I do not consider The Cursed Child to be canon. I consider the book series to be canon. The Cursed Child is enjoyable, and it's a really interesting addition to the world. But there are elements in the story that I just don't think jive with what we've learned about characters in the original series, which is 7 books long, and so it's not, I don't really fully accept it as canon. That aside, the reason I picked this as one of my top 3 is for 2 reasons. And the first is the stagecraft, and the stagecraft is astounding. When I read the play, there were things that were happening in this play that I was just like, how how are you going to do that on stage, really? And that was kind of the only reason that I then wanted to see it, because I wanted to see how they were going to pull off some of these really magical, for want of a better word, magical feats on stage. And they did an absolutely incredible job. And what was incredible about it is they didn't use any kind of computery trickery. It was all very traditional. It was all very simple, but was so brilliant for that. And I can't go into too much detail because keep the secrets, but stagecraft was astounding. And the second reason I had to pick this is just because it felt so good to be back in that world again, to meet up with characters that I miss. And I can watch the films and I can read the books over and over again, but there's nothing quite like having something fresh. And there were parts of it that I absolutely thought were beautiful. The character of Scorpius, for example, is one of my favourites now. I absolutely adore him. And it just felt so good to be there with my very dear friend who has the same feelings as me for how much Harry Potter means to him. And yeah, it's a very beautiful memory for me, even if I don't fully support all of the story. So yeah, I had to call it out because the stagecraft was amazing and the event that it was for me was just really up there. My second pick is Dr. Faustus, particularly the midnight matinee that I saw at the Globe, and I can't remember when, but it was definitely more than 6 years ago because it was before Rich and I were together. The reason that I went to see this was in part because I love the Globe, in case you didn't get that at the top of this segment, and I really enjoy their midnight matinees. I've seen maybe 3 or 4 of them. It starts at midnight basically, and it finishes in the early hours, and I really, really love that. It's really enjoyable to be kind of curled up with a blanket watching a play at that time of night. It feels a little bit magical, and I really enjoy that. I like theatre being an experience, so we tend to go and we mill around in the courtyard and we get hot dogs and a beer, and then we go and watch the play, and it's fantastic. And to see something like Dr. Faustus in the pitch black of night was so atmospheric, and it was absolutely incredible. There was a lot of puppetry involved, and for the life of me I can't remember the name of the actor who played Dr. Faustus, but I'm going to put it up on the screen now because he was amazing. But the guy who played, and I'm going to mangle this name because I can never pronounce it, Mephistopheles, the demon that Dr. Faustus summons, was played by Arthur Darvill, who was Rory in Doctor Who. And my friend and I, massive Doctor Who fans, so it was pretty incredible to see this guy that we loved in the show live on stage. And he was incredible. The two of them were just these powerhouses. And that's what made it so great. Apart from the fact that it was midnight and it was this kind of demonic play and it was dark, apart from that, it was these two guys at the absolute peak of their game. It was incredible because, you know, they weren't trying to outact each other or outdo each other. They were feeding off each other, and you could see how much they had this amazing chemistry and they loved working together, and that was great to see. And then right at the end, they had the traditional jig, which you would have had in Shakespeare's time, where they came out, and the pair of them are clearly talented musicians as well. I think Arthur Darvill is in a band, could have that wrong. But he and the other guy, who I want to say is called Paul, the two leads, anyway, they came out and they had like little, I want to say ukuleles, but they weren't, lutes, I guess. And they were just playing music, and like the people who were doing the puppetry came out and they just did this great like jam session together. And it was about 3 o'clock in the morning, and it was amazing because they came out as themselves, and you could tell that they'd had a brilliant time doing this show, and they were really enjoying being part of this, being in each other's company. And that is what I really, really like about theatre. It's so immediate, and we were right there with them, and you know, if they had been tired or like, oh God, I'm so sick of working with you every day, it wouldn't have that same magic. And they really brought us with them, and it was incredible. And I think that the Globe should absolutely pick the most creepy ones they can for the midnight matinees, because it was amazing. I think the other one I saw at midnight matinee that was a bit creepy was The Tempest, and I believe Colin Morgan was playing Ariel, and that was quite good, because it was, you know, you're late and you're tired and the aisle is full of noises, and yeah, it was magical. If you can see anything at the Globe, it's amazing. But if you're coming to London and you can time it so you can see a midnight matinee at the Globe, it's just fantastic. Because, I mean, I don't know what it's like now, because obviously we have the night tube, but afterwards, you know, me and my friend spilled out, and we'd like walk, we couldn't get the tube home because it was, you know, 3 o'clock in the morning, and it'd be like the sleepy streets of London, and like kind of chucking out time in the clubs, and you've just come back from the theatre and you're trying to find a hot chocolate because that's all you want, and you're on the bus and it's taking forever, and because it's summer, that you watch the sun come up by the time you get home. And see why it's on my top 3? I love it. My last pick for my top 3 is another one that starred somebody I really admire. It was Much Ado About Nothing. But this was the year there were 2 big productions of Much Ado on, and the first was at the Globe, and they did a fantastic job. However, I saw that one, and then I saw the David Tennant, Catherine Tate version at Wyndham's Theatre, and it blew it out of the water. I think Much Ado is possibly my favourite Shakespeare play. I love how it kind of veers into tragedy and comes back again, and there's all this kind of like fighting and wittiness, and I love it. And the key with this play is to get Beatrice and Benedict right. And they were very good at the Globe. But when David Tennant and Catherine Tate did it, they had just come off of filming Doctor Who together. So they had a very long history together. They were, you know, friends. They'd worked very closely together before, and I think that was the kind of tipping point for them being the better pairing, because they were able to draw on all that history and were just fantastic. The chemistry was amazing, and they just clicked. And it was a modern adaptation again, like the Henry V I mentioned. This was, I think it was set in Gibraltar. The idea was that there were a family stationed over there, and she was kind of the niece of the governor of the island, and then you had the army coming in, Benedict being part of that army. And it was very kind of, yeah, modern and fun, and the music was great. I actually downloaded Sigh No More. That's so sad. I downloaded Sigh No More. And I have that on my iTunes. And it was just incredible. It was lively. It was full of fun. The chemistry was just off the charts. And when it did have that very quick turn into tragedy, it really grabbed you, because you were so shocked by it, because it had been this great, like, fun, lively party show, and then it drops. And it was just like, wow, okay. And then when it comes up again, it was a roller coaster ride, honestly. It was absolutely amazing. And I should point out, I stood for the whole thing. So my friend and I, actually my friend who's gone to China, who's the one who comes and sees most theatre with me and is the Doctor Who fan, I was working and she happened to be in town and was like, so I can queue up and try and get tickets to go and see this. And we'd kind of gone, we'll never get tickets to this. You know, all the Doctor Who fans are going to sell it out like that. But she managed to get us tickets. They were standing only, and I did not care. I do not remember being tired. I remember just being enthralled by the light and the life, and and honestly, when Beatrice and Benedict were bickering at each other the way they do, honestly, it was so quick and so fast and so snappy, and Oh, I loved it, and it was absolutely amazing. I've actually just flicked around and had a look on my bookshelf for some of my programmes. Aha! I even got it signed at the end. So I'm actually going to show you these because I'm really sad and I collect them and I love them. But yeah, this was Much Ado About Nothing at the Wyndham's Theatre with David Tennant and Catherine Tate, and they did an absolutely blooming brilliant job. So that was that. This Macbeth that I saw at the Globe with Elliot Cowan as Macbeth, brilliant. Aha! And here's the other one. Here's the other Much Ado that I saw the same year I saw it at Wyndham's. Oh, and look, I even keep the tickets. I know. Bonkers, obsessed. They do such great programmes at the Globe, honestly. And look, here's my Dr. Faustus. Oh, it was fantastic. Oh, hang on, I'm sure we've got some pictures in here that I can show you. Let's see if I can find one. His name was Paul. This is Paul Hilton as Dr. Faustus, and this is Arthur Darvill as Mephistopheles, that I can never pronounce. But yeah, absolutely fantastic. I still have the programme. I keep them on a little shelf for shows that I particularly enjoy, and I just love having them. I will give a special shout out to the Open Air Theatre at Regent's Park as well, just because I've got the programme here and it reminded me. It's an open air theatre and they time it so that the sun goes down during the play and the fairy lights come on in the bushes and it's gorgeous, and we always have a picnic beforehand, and I haven't been in years, and I think this year I might have to go again and take Rich and, you know, continue his London cultural education. So yeah, that was an incredibly babbly top 3 for Here Be Spoilers. I'm really sorry about that, but as you can no doubt tell, I love theatre. I studied drama at university, more as an academic subject than as a practical acting subject, although I did some. And I adore it. And I don't think until I've sat down and looked through those programmes that I've got in a little pile next to me now, and till I sat down to think about what would be my top 3 theatre shows, I'd forgotten how much that I miss it and how much that I love it. So that's going to be a nightmare for me to edit into any semblance of sense, and I apologise. But now let's move on to Knit and Natter. Honestly, I'm on about theatre so much, I feel like I'm losing my voice. So today I wanted to talk about something that made me really happy and then made me kind of frowny. So this year is the 25th anniversary of Jurassic Park, and for those who watched a few episodes ago where I talked about my top 3 films, you will know that Jurassic Park is one of my all-time favourites. I saw this film when it came out when I was 6, and it has been my favourite film ever since. And to celebrate the 25th anniversary of it, the guys who do are they called Funkos or Pops? The company that does these little guys is releasing a Jurassic Park series. This is my very first Pop, and I got him for Christmas. It's the 10th Doctor, who is one of my all-time favourite characters, and I really hope I don't fall down the rabbit hole and end up with 200, because I don't need more stuff, but I love him. So yeah, I was super pleased to hear that they're releasing some Jurassic Park Funkos, because as I mentioned when I was talking about Jurassic Park, I love it. And I particularly loved Alan Grant because my 6-year-old self was convinced I was going to grow up and marry him, as you do. I was also convinced at 6 that I was going to grow up and become Ellie Sattler. She was a massive hero for me. And I was really disappointed to discover that they're not releasing an Ellie Pop. So if I remember this correctly, there is an Alan Grant, a John Hammond. There are 2 Ian Malcolms. One is the kind of traditional Ian Malcolm, and one is the sexy Ian Malcolm where he's lounging injured with his shirt unbuttoned to the waist. And there's also a Dennis Nedry. I think there might be 2, because I think I've seen one where he's just kind of normal and one where he's got the black kind of poison on his face. And I kept scrolling and I couldn't find Ellie. And I know that they work in batches, and I know that the two children characters, Lex and Timmy, haven't been included. But I feel like if you're going to make all of the grown-ups, and you're going to make 2 Ian Malcolms and 2 Dennis Nedrys, correct me if I'm wrong, there might not be 2 Nedrys, but either way, if you're going to make that, it strikes me as kind of strange that you wouldn't include Ellie. To me, Ellie is much more of a main character than Dennis Nedry, and I'm just kind of disappointed and really surprised, given how much talk there has been and like the waves of activism about female equality over the last couple of years. I'm just a bit surprised that a film with a character like Dr. Ellie Sattler, who is an incredibly strong character, she is, I'm just gesturing with 10, sorry, but she is intelligent, she is a leading paleobotanist, she is an independent, strong, tough, brave woman who actually has a very active role in the film and ends up doing something that massively like saves the group. As does Lex, who is the teenage girl, but I'm going to put that aside because they haven't included the children in this particular batch, so I'm not going to get too annoyed about that. But I am annoyed about Ellie because she, to me, is a leading character, and it baffles me that in the light of all this talk about, you know, giving women equal standing, this company, and there must have been hundreds of people involved in the decision making for this series of pops, nobody turned around and went, we should probably include Ellie because she is the only adult female in this film and she plays a very big role, and otherwise the entire range we're releasing is all men. And I find that really sad that nobody had that thought. I don't think, I hope not, I hope nobody went, well, we're going to deliberately not include Ellie, but it's very sad to think that she wasn't considered. And yeah, I just wanted to share that because I was really, really excited about it, and I was like, yeah, I can get an Alan and an Ellie, and I can't. And now I just kind of feel like, well, I don't want any of them. You know, if I can't get Ellie, who was the one that I wanted, I'm not going to get it. I think you can get her as part of like the vehicle set, I heard. But yeah, I want one of these of Ellie. And even if I don't end up buying it, I want it to be available because it's 2018, guys. And, you know, back in, 1993, she saved everyone. She turned the electricity back on. She fought off raptors. She was amazing. She deserves one of these just as much as Alan Grant, as sexy Ian Malcolm, and as poison-faced Dennis Nedry. So yeah, that was my kind of little rant, my little feminist rant, like, you know, include Ellie, bring back Ellie. But yeah, I just think if you're going to do something, do it properly. And when a woman is as incredible as Dr. Ellie Sattler, include her. Well, that's it for today, guys. Yeah, the kind of first thing I'm not sure agrees with me, because even though I'm looking down here at my notes, I feel like I got really swept up talking about theatre and talking about Jurassic Park, and I probably babbled a great deal, and I'm not sure that it made much sense. But it's fine, and hopefully you don't mind, and hopefully I will be on better form next episode, which will be episode 40, which feels like a big deal. We're not far off of episode 50, which is an even bigger deal. And I'm babbling again. So have a lovely, lovely week. I will see you again very soon for another cup of tea. Take care, guys. Bye. Also, if you can keep hearing a weird cracking noise in the background, it's my light. I don't know why. I don't know if it's because it's cold in here and it's warming up as it's working, but it keeps kind of going like crack, 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 and it's really weird. And it's startling me every time it does it. I'm like, oh, why is it doing that? So yeah, that's just my lamp. My house is not about to fall down. I hope.